about the cocktails. Like, cocktails are my favorite. As long as there's vodka and gin or tequila, I'm happy. Okay. I'll take any of them. I'll take any of those. So 4 to 6 here. It's cash bar and lots of good opportunities to network with each other. Okay. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Holly to introduce Billy Taylor, our first guest speaker.
Good morning, everyone. Go green. Thank you. So back in, it was 2017, I was looking for a speaker when I was at a former company and I was in charge of the conference, and it was a pretty big deal. We were just starting out in our lean journey, and somehow someone recommended this guy, Billy Taylor. And I'm like, who's Billy Taylor? So I look at him online. I'm like, holy smoke, that's Billy Taylor. So of course, I looked at my LinkedIn. And a gentleman that I worked with before children, so that was 23, 24 years ago, we connect and he's like, yeah, I know Billy Taylor. I work for him. And he goes on to give me this amazing, amazing speech about Billy and how he's been his mentor. He's the best boss he's ever had. He's creative. He's a dynamic speaker. And I'm like, oh, so of course I cold call him. And because Keith gave me his number and he's like, absolutely, Holly, I'll fly to Denver and speak to your people. And I'm like, I felt like I was in heaven. Anyway, so fast forward, so Billy spoke in the spring of 2018 in Denver. I got in trouble, right? It was February in Denver. I got in a lot of trouble. Why are we having a conference in February in Denver? Just because it was cheap, okay? But anyway, point being, I've known Billy since 2018, and my gosh, I can't believe time flies. And Billy I got my glasses now on Billy, okay. He was working for Goodyear when I met him, and he at Goodyear, he spent 30 years. Can't believe that. He was the director of North America. He also was the global head of diversity and inclusion. He graduated from Texas A&M. Prairie View, Texas A&M. Okay. And he's also on the executive advisory board for Shingo, Utah State University, John M. Huntsman School of Business. And he also is on the executive board for the global head of diversity and inclusion for the Association of Manufacturing Excellence. So currently, Billy retired. How long ago did you retire?
3 years.
Okay, and I don't think you really retired. But Billy retired 3 years ago and he started his own company. He wrote a book, started his own company, and he's now a business executive. He's a dynamic speaker, and I'm not kidding. And he's a leadership guru. He can talk the talk, walk the walk, and just recently he returned from Iceland. He's still jet lagged a bit, so hopefully you got some dynamics going on there, Billy. I don't know. Just returned from Iceland from doing a gig, and we're so grateful to have him here today. It's my pleasure to introduce to you Billy Taylor.
Thank you, Holly. Well, good morning. Well, this is not going to be a Harvard presentation. Let me get that right there. I like to have fun, and this has been my style. I'm going to often say, write this down. And there's a reason I do that, okay? But today we're going to talk about how we win. I work with companies from all over the world, from companies from all over the country. And often when I walk into the offices and I ask the leaders, are you winning? They often say, yes, we are. But when I walk the shop floor in the office hallways and I ask the people, are we winning? Most often they have no idea. In fact, they don't know if they're winning or losing until the end of the month. Then it's too late. Here's why. Write this down. You can't manage a secret. So I want to share a story with you. When I was running a plant in Fayetteville, Lawton, Oklahoma, we had just won the Shingle Prize. And I was excited. I knew I was going to get promoted. Now I'm a mom's boy. I'm just going to call it like it is. I called my mom. I said, Mom, I'm going to get the call. I'm going to get promoted. I'm going to run North America. And the phone ring. I pick up. Hello? The CEO says, Billy, we got a great opportunity for you. I'm like, yes. He says, you're going to Fayetteville, North Carolina. I'm like, that's the worst plant in the world. It even had a nickname, Fed Nam. I says, no. Most of my friends have went to that place. It's like Gilligan's Island. You start out on a 3-day trip and you never come back. And I remember calling my mom and says, Mom, I'm not taking that job. And she said something to me I'd never forget. She said, son, I'm disappointed in you. She says, if a bird lands on a branch, does the bird trust the branch or does it trust its wings? She says, trust the process. Take the job. So I took the job and I show up, I go on the back shift and I talk to all of the leaders and I'm walking with the union vice president. He's got this big wad of tobacco in his mouth. And really, remember, you can't manage a secret. So I want to know if he knows what winning really means. And I says, well, approximately how many people work here? You want me to be honest? I says, yeah, I'm thinking 2,000, 3,000. He says, about half of them. What? So I knew we had a lot of work to do, okay? Now, reason why I say that, I'm gonna take you on a journey where we had to first define what winning is. And after I got there, first thing we did was buy everybody in the plant a custom football jersey with the number 38 on it. Here's why. They were making 31,000 tires a day and the market demanded 38. No one knew what winning was. And so the first thing we did was start with deliberate clarity. It's critical. I'm going to walk you through a journey today on 3 specific steps that great organizations follow these principles and they win. My company, LinkedXL, work with companies from all over the country. We can't even take clients anymore. We go in with a 6-month exit strategy and we don't want to be consultants. Every company we work with have had $1 million turnaround with these principles because we do not consult. We just say, do you do these 3 things, okay? So we're gonna start with deliberate clarity. The questions I'm gonna walk you through today is 1, deliberate clarity. Do people know what winning is in your organization? At every level. It's called defining winning. 2, are you aligned to win? Do people know what they own in your strategy? 3, do you have a daily management system with deliberate practice that shows people how to execute winning? And last, how do you inspire trust? And so we're going to walk through all of these 4 steps in today's presentation. Let's start with deliberate clarity. We call it defining winning. You're going to hear this over and over. You can't manage a secret. So if your strategy is a secret, you can't manage it. If your standards are secrets, how do you manage it? Building trust. Leaders, have you earned the right to change? We'll talk about that. So, pop quiz number 1. You can't manage a what? Good, you're doing great. All right, everybody on the count of 3, write down the word no. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, what did you write? Spell it for me. N-O. Woo-hoo. Spell it. N-O. 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 Guess what? What you wrote? I like that. Oh, you wrote them both around. See? All right. Those of you that wrote no down, ever since I was a kid, when I heard the word no, my mother said, Billy Ray, no. What did I do? Stop. I was afraid I did something wrong. Oh, yeah. That's how mine thinks. But listen, in the business opportunity, when that happens, your team says opportunity is nowhere. When they know, that looks the same. When I know better, I understand. I can do better. But look how those words sound the same. This is how your mind processes both words. Opportunity is now here. That's how the game changes. That's why it's important to be deliberately clear on what it is you want to achieve and how you want to achieve it. Okay? But I'm going to bring all these to life. Everything I do today, I'm going to prove to you. I'm not going to speak on theory. I'm going to speak on practice. Fair enough? Let's move to this. Why do you want people to know? Now, I'm a smart person. I have 13 degrees. I earned 2 and I hired 11. And I use all 13 of them. Now, here's why that's important. When I've got different viewpoints, I see different things. You see this picture, you miss beauty. It's right there. It's a way to look at things differently. But more importantly, let's start with setting the tone. Standards, write this down. What you accept, you cannot change. Whatever you walk by, that's the standard. But remember, what you accept, you cannot change. So I ask you, what's your standard as a parent? What's your standard as a leader? What is your personal standard? That's important that you identify that. And there's a reason why. See, I saw a famous coach speak once, John Scalinas. All the coaches out there, from Nick Saban to Bill Belichick, they all wanted to know what was the key to winning. And this gentleman, around 80 years old, walked out with a baseball plate around his neck, and he had home plate. And he says, home plate. All you want to know what's the key to being a great leader? He says, home plate. If you play Little League baseball, home plate's 17 inches. If you play high school baseball, home plate's 17 inches. If you make it to the pros, the minor leagues, home plate, 17 inches. What I'm trying to tell you, it's the standard. And if a pitcher can't get the ball across the plate, you don't widen the plate. You hold to your standard. See, most often leaders want to widen the plate. I tell my daughter, she's dating now. I said, listen, baby, set your standard on how you want to be treated. I said, dating is like hiring an employee. The best you're going to get is the first 30 days, right? They're not doing a thing. You need to evaluate whether you want to keep them on board. In all seriousness, I want to share a story with you about my mother. I was a really, really good athlete growing up. In fact, those are my rings. But I have to share a story with you. In the 8th grade, I was the #1 player in the state of Texas. I even had a nickname, BT Express. They called me Touchdown Taylor. I'd line up in the backfield, and they'd pitch me the ball before I could even start running. The band played the fight song. All right, the older I get, the better I was. Okay. All right. Now, what I tell you is, I had all A's, but my mother sent my brothers and I in the living room, and she said, let me be clear to you what winning is. If you make anything less than a B, you can't play. I don't care how good you are on that football field. Well, all year I'm doing great. A week before the championship game, report cards come out. I have all A's and 1 F. Now, by school standards, you could fail 2 classes and still be legal. I remember walking in the living room that day, and my mother says, "Billy Ray." I said, "Ma'am." She says, "Come here, have a seat." I said, "Yes, ma'am." She says, "What's this stuff?" I said, "Mom, I'm good. I can fail 2 classes, not in this house. The standard is the standard." She took me off the team. We were favored to win the city championship by 20 points. My athletic director comes by. The principal comes by. Everyone talks to my mom, and I still hear her voice. "Mister, if you want to talk to me about those grades, you're welcome to stay. Football, you have to leave." And I remember popping in the living room and says, "Mom, how can you do this? I'm going to play in the NFL one day." And in front of all those coaches, she says, "Do you know what NFL means in this house if you make less than a B?" I says, "No, ma'am." She says, "Not for long will you be playing." Now, they played that game without me. They lost 54-0. We're telling my mom, "You're not fair." I'm going to come back to that. You're not fair. Fast forward. My mom's dying. She's in hospice and I'm crying. I'm saying, "Mom, I'm not ready for you to go." She says, "No, baby, let me explain something to you about what it takes to be a great leader, a great parent." She says, "You don't know how much I agonized on taking you off that team. As a leader, you're going to have to make some tough choices." She says, "That was the best thing I ever did for you. Now look at you today, holding to the standard." She says, "It's time for me, but you have more runway. But hold to your standard." See, what you accept, you cannot change. Fast forward 2 years later, my best friend gets killed in a motorcycle accident. I go to the funeral, I fly in. All my friends tell me, "You know what? He wants to tell you we envied you growing up. When you thought we were laughing, we were watching. And what we admire most is your mom held you to a standard. You know what? We don't remember the score of that game, but we do remember the what? The standard. So your people are watching you. They're watching your standards. They're watching what you walk by. They're not watching what you write down in some booklet and says, this is the standard. Standard is what you accept. After you have clarity about what winning is and what your standards, now we need to talk about deliberate ownership. Remember when I told my mom, "You're not fair." Write this down. In the absence of ownership comes blame. In the absence of ownership comes blame. Now, here's the formula for winning in any company I've ever been in and any company I've ever worked with. It's really simple. Strategy plus execution equals results. So if it's that simple, Billy, why do so many companies fail? The plus. People don't know who owns what in that strategy, and that's why those strategies fail. Remember, in the absence of ownership comes what? Blame. Okay. I tell you, this is a hard crowd. Stand up, we're going to exercise. I want you to be comfortable and uncomfortable. Everybody stand up. I don't want to get a picture of this. Somebody get a picture of everybody standing. I want this one. I need proof. I'm a factual leader. All right. All right. What I'm going to do is give you some standard work. We're going to hold our hands up like this. Little spirit fingers. All right. We're going to go to the left, count of 3. We're going to go to the right. We're going to count of 3. We're going to come back in the middle on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. We're going to clap and work our bodies up. That's it. Ready? Here we go. Hands up. To the left. 1, 2, 3. To the right. 1, 2, 3. In the middle, spirit fingers. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Now, I clearly asked you to clap on 3. Why did you clap on 2? Oh, see what did you say? See what I told you? In the absence of ownership comes what? Blame. He just blamed me. He just blamed me. I told him to prove it to you. I told you. Well, let me share something with you. You know what I love what you said? Thank you for being honest. See, I love it when people are transparent with you. Please have a seat. Because if he's not transparent and I don't know, it's a what? Secret. And I can't manage a secret. This is the old way of leading. And definitely after COVID, I'm going to talk about the transition. When I came up to the organization, this is where it was. We focused on accountability, push accountability down, right? And 5% of the people believe they make everything happen in most companies. 15% of the people wait. I mean, they watch. They go into meetings, the town hall, CEO comes in and do the razzle dazzle, and they watch. But then 80% of the people just wait. To flip the pyramid, when you get 80% of the people executing, 15% strategy deployment and enabling, then the 5% envisioning, but that's ownership. See, in today's world, ownership is a key driver. And you know, one's working on the business and one's working in the business. The ownership is like the hotel room I stayed in. This morning, I'm getting ready to put on my shoes. There's a nice little leather ottoman in there. I'm accountable for that hotel room. But I walked up to that ottoman and put that buckle on, put my foot on that. Now, do you think I would have did that in Miss Rachel's ottoman? It's not a chance. The difference is your mind starts to change when you believe you own something, rather than you're accountable to something. So we're going to talk about how do we flip the pyramid? We drive everything close to the source, to where it happens. So people, you've heard of strategy deployment and Hoshin Connery, but there's more to it than that. Often when I work with companies and they do the Hoshin Connery, it goes right into someone's laptop or in a picture frame on someone's wall. Then it stops. It never gets to the lowest level where change really happens. And so here's what we do. We talk about how do we break that strategy down to right when it gets in here, the strategy is no longer a secret, and you can get it there where you can see it. Your visual management boards. That's when you start to know if your strategy is coming to life. So think about this big chess game called winning in business. Often everybody comes up with this big goal and they say, we're going to make $9 million in profits. We'll announce that loud and clear. And then at the end of the month, it's 8 million. We're 1 million short. What normally happens? We get everyone in the room. Stop spending. Stop traveling. No hiring. Get your ink pen from the conference and bring it back with you. We can't afford anything. And because you fail to communicate, here's what happens. This is what your org chart looks like now. Everybody thinks you're dumping on them because of lack of ownership. In the absence of ownership comes what? Blame. Here's what effective organizations do. They take that strategy and they break it down. And I'm going to show you a visual of what this looks like. They say, here's 9 million. Now these are my departments. Those are my shifts. I break it down. So guess what? When I miss, it's like a GPS. I'm going to go to department 1. Then I'm going to come down. In my monthly meetings, they would last an hour. We went from 3 hours to an hour because we went right to where the issue was. And instead of bringing everyone in, screaming and yelling, I want you to write this down. Celebrate the red so you can harvest the green. Celebrate the red so you can harvest the green. But more importantly, here's where visual management comes in. Remember, you flip the pyramid. My gimbal walks now start up here on the shift. These now are weekly meetings, and this is a monthly meeting. But my boards now, I can fix it before the end of the month when I flip the pyramid, and that's what it looks like. Once you deploy the business, where you're working on the business, spend a lot of your time supporting and enabling those that work in the business. Okay? Next, I'm going to move to what's called deliberate practice. This is your daily management system that lets people know what winning is. Remember, you can't manage a secret. Standards, what you accept, you cannot change. Write this one down. Make people visible, and they will make you valuable. Make people visible, and they will make you valuable. When people start to build their operating systems, they really focus on this outside perimeter. These are all the tools that's out there in Lean. Those are all the tools that are featured in those books over there. But when tools lead, failure follows. If you just start with just getting those tools, then failures imminent. Those are just flashes in the pan. Your 5S processes don't stick. Your effective problem solving is not effective and sustainable. Here's why. Leaders that fail that I've been around, they are very lenient on the process itself. I often say, be hard on the process so you can lead easy on the people. Be hard on the process. I never really recognized the individual per se. I embraced the individual. I recognize the individual for following the process. And therefore, I started to create evangelists around following the process. Everyone wanted to be recognized for following the process. Because when I just recognized you for what you did, you became a professional fire starter. You created problems to be recognized. But when I was hard on the process, even with my kids, being hard on the process strengthened our relationship. And I'm going to share something at the end of the presentation that changed my life. And still with my kids today, we focus on what was the process. The term measuring what matters. I do three things in this sequential order. I start with identifying what's the CPI, the critical performance indicator, because leaders want to measure everything instead of the main thing. So if you're a safety leader, what's your CPI for safety? No one gets hurt. It's a critically most important thing. Now, if you're a company, what's your CPI? Profitability, in some cases. If you're in operations, on time and full. Now, there's other things I have to do to get those things. Those are called KPAs. The actions I have to take to deliver the CPI. So if I'm looking at safety, I need to focus on near miss accidents, near miss closure, compliance. I'm going to measure all those things. Those are KPAs. And then my KPIs are how are those trending. I'm going to measure those things that I said I was going to do. But again, let's prove it. How many of you watch football? Go ahead and know a little about football. Let me give you an example. We're at a football game. We're going to measure. There's 1 minute left on the clock. We have 3 timeouts out left. The visitor has none. We're in the 4th quarter. We have the ball. First down and 10 on their 10-yard line. Again, 1 minute left. We have 3 timeouts. What's the strategy? You need to know what? Oh, you need to know the score. Why is that important? It's the CPI of everything on this board. What's most important right now? The score. All right, let's do this. The score is 40-0. We're winning. What's the strategy? We have the ball. Now everybody wants to talk. Right? The score, right? Now, it all depends. If it's Michigan playing Michigan State, you may want to run the score up. I'm just saying. Or Ohio State, I'm just saying. Wait a minute. So we're going to run the ball out. Let some other players play. Notice how everybody started to come to light. We started to talk about it. Let's try something different. We're down 7. It's 1 minute left. We have the ball. I have my team in the room. But before we get there, I've got a suggestion. We're on the 10-yard line. I'm a heck of a field goal kicker. I think you should send me out and let me kick a field goal. What do you think? No, but I'm good. No, why not? Notice how the conversation shifted. Don't miss the point here. As a leader, what does your scoreboard say? What's important for you and what you do? Because if you have all this and you don't have what winning is, and if you say the goal is to have 3 timeouts at the end of the game, you're going to keep losing. Remember, I talk about those companies that continue to fail? They fail at deliberate clarity to give people the true north. And that's important. Here's why. If I want to lose weight, what's more important? Me standing on the scale, the KPI, or me focusing on the KPAs? Does that make sense? If I do the KPAs, I should get the what? The result. The KPIs. Here's my board. When I took over North America, we were a negative $38 million in EBITDA. In 5 years, we were a $1 billion company. We raised over 600 and some thousand back orders in a short period of time. This is my actual center of excellence. Now I'm going to break it down. My CPI was profitability. That's North America, engineering, human resources, operations. These are all the plants, the large plants that reported to me. And their profitability, all their profitabilities added up is how I became profitable. If I can look here, I've got a problem with engineering in my 4 plants. Who's the engineering leader? That person that should own it. Let's look at human resources, operations. Now, if I brought you up with that short explanation, you could walk in this room in 10 seconds or less, see where we need to focus. What's my best running plant? Kingdom and Stockbridge. Somebody else tell me, where's my worst plant? Absolutely. And every month we had this meeting in this room, this center of excellence, and we were problem solving. And when I brought Dan Hoover in, my first question wasn't, what the heck's going on in engineering? My first question was, what do you need from me? Leaders start with that question. You actually put the person in a box. What do you need from me? Not what do you want from me? What do you need from me? When you ask that question and deliver, the next question in most cases was, why do you accept that? What that means is you're accepting people not following your standards. So why do you accept that? Now let me break down the difference between want and need. I want a Bentley. I need a ride to work. They're clearly different, okay? And so when notice we had clarity, alignment, ownership, KPIs, and governance. We started to change the game. Even the guard wanted in. Mr. Taylor, I want a board right outside the plant. 100% of the people walk by. And listen, to get a tour, you have to fill out a tour admission slip. Or I won't let them leave, Mr. Taylor. I said, hold up, fella. If they're from corporate headquarters, you let them on out of here. All right? So, just food for thought. Whenever you put boards up in your organization, keep it simple. Here's what I recommend you do. Stand 10 feet from that board and walk 10 steps. Stop and turn around. Determine if you can see what winning is. But don't trust your opinion. Trust the opinion of the people that work in the area. Stop them and ask them. Because they're the ones that need to know what winning is. And that's what's critically important. Walk you through, this is the fun part of my presentations I love the most. It's building trust. That governance. This is where I really have fun in my presentation. And it's something my mother taught me. Last night I was going down to get an iron and we were in the elevator together. I didn't know her at the time. And I got in the elevator and she came in, she's right behind me. And I stopped and I thought about something my mother would say, my brother and I, around respect for people. Now I have a high respect for women because I was raised by my mom. And I'm appalled even today. And when she walks into the elevator, I step back. It opened. Please. When the elevator opened, I'm closest to the door. I'm like, please. Why was I doing that? I was raised by that what? Standard. Even when people aren't looking, the standard is the standard. That makes sense? Earning the right to change. This is important. If you want to be one of the best leaders in your organization, you will really focus on earning the right to change. Even with your kids, just because you gave them birth or life, it doesn't mean you earned that exclusive right. Because you don't want them to resent you after they get to be adults. Earning the right to change. Most people focus on the technical right. I gave you a job. I gave you tools. I gave you work instructions. I give you a paycheck. Do your job. It's just the start of it. The cultural right is what great leaders focus. Respect, trust, meeting you where you are, accepting the differences that people have. You know, as a minority leader, I've never, ever walked into a room thinking about the glass ceiling. I walked in the door worried about my sticky floor. Because you get inside your own mind. You start convincing yourself why you can't get promoted. You start convincing yourself of things you can't do because of your old paradigm. But when you remind yourself, I have a sticky floor, write that down. I have a sticky floor. And it's not a black, white, male, female. You know what? Everyone in this room at some point will be a minority. The young fella in the room with the old fella, the old lady in the room with the young lady. I recently had a conversation with a CEO, and she's 36 and says, Billy, I have the imposter syndrome sometimes, and you're the only one I can admit that to, because I'm so young and my mentors are older than me, and I walk in the room. I said, no, 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 no. Be yourself because everyone else is taken. Be yourself because everyone else is taken. This young lady is one of my greatest inspirations. She's from Michigan. It's a tragedy, she passed away, but she was the CEO of Mid-Michigan Medical, Diane Possum. And she called me one day and said, Bill, I need you to come keynote for me. This is a great event. We got 700 doctors. And I show up, I'm like, so first, wear a pink shirt, pink tie, pink suit. I'm like, pink suit, we're going to look too far. All right. So I show up, I got my pink on, and she says, so Billy, at the end of it, we're going to dance. So I should have knew something when I saw that princess outfit. Right? So I get up front. She said, we're going to dance. I said, okay, we're going to dance. Okay, listen. Stereotype myself on brother. I got a little rhythm. Right? And I'm from Texas. Even if they want to put on a Kenny Chesney, I got my line. I'm ready to go. The music comes on and I'm shocked. The music comes on and says, so watch me whip. So watch me nay-nay. I'm like, what the heck? We're 50 years old and we're doing a rap song to 700 doctors. What the heck? She never looks over at me. Just keeps dancing. What do you think I did? What do you think all the doctors started doing? So watch me, nay-nay. What did she do? She created a safe environment for people to change. Psychological safety is just as critical as physical safety. If it's not psychologically safe for me to engage, I won't. I will not. In fact, when it's not psychologically safe, reality isn't what you think it is. Because people come into the meeting and they don't engage with you. That's why I gave you the book. Often those people that it's not psychologically safe, you treat people like you do the lady with the grocery store and the baby carriage, right? Baby, look, what do? You walk up and you look in, you do what? You lie. You walk up, you look down, you say, oh, baby, so cute, so precious. And you walk away, think or say something totally different. You walk away, ooh, dang, that's an ugly baby. Some of y'all get rude. It doesn't even look like the father. Now, I don't mean that literally, that's just for impact, okay? I had to do my daughter's hair once and I didn't do it right. My wife says, you made our baby ugly. I said, you never showed me how to do hair. We're the problem, the baby's not the problem. In most companies, leaders don't create that psychological space. You don't get to the ugly babies. And often it's the things that can change your organization. As I close, remember this: behaviors you can see, mindsets you cannot. Safe space for people to change, those mindsets come to life. People trust you. To close, winning is more than just the numbers. I want to share a story with you about my son. He played at St. Vincent St. Mary's, where LeBron played. And they just won the state championship. Every day I took my son to the gym. He wasn't that tall. He was a great shooter. And he shot 200 shots, and the goal was to shoot 60%. On the last day I took him to the gym, I dropped him off. I said, son, I have a meeting, and I can't stay because it's the board of directors. I said, send me a picture. He sent me a picture, and he shot over 300 shots and shot 87%. He sent me that picture, and I remember sitting in that boardroom, and I looked at my son's face, and he was sad. I jumped up, I ran, called him, and said, hey, Alex, everything okay? He says, no, yeah, well, Dad, I shot 87%. I said, no, look at your face. He says, Dad, it hit me today. that 87% didn't mean anything because you weren't here. Dad, this is the last day you and I are going to ride to school together. Where you play your favorite songs, I play my favorite songs. I learn about grandma, grandpa, I learn all those things. He says, Dad, you got something wrong. Good leaders do measure what matters, but great leaders embrace the fact that everything that matters can't be measured. He says, Dad, I may not remember all the games you came to, but I'll never forget the 2 you missed because I always wanted you there, Dad. He says, Dad, I remember when Mr. Ellis asked you, how do you have time to coach AAU and all those things? He says, and you said to him, I don't have time to golf. He says, that impacted me, Dad. So when they played for the state championship, look at that picture to the right, to the left. There's no one around my son and I, but look at our eyes, they're swollen up. Because when everybody ran to cut down the net and grab a trophy, my son ran to me and we cried. My son said to me, Dad, I'm crying in the car thinking about you, Dad. Thank you for always being there. I love you so much. You don't understand what you've done for me. I love you, son, more than what's comprehensive. You bring me joy. I'm blessed, God. Let me be your father. It's more than the numbers. Okay? Here's some key points. My favorite is make people visible. They'll make you valuable. We talked about define, align, execute. They're critical. KPAs drive performance. But remember, celebrate the red. Celebrate the red. But more importantly, remember, all encounters matter. Your kids, your spouses. You know what? A person wants more than anything is to be valued. And when they're valued, they love it. And I make sure my wife knows every day. And my son said to me, he says, Dad, you're good. He says, I remember when Mom was going to the mall, she walks in the kitchen all pretty. You said, woo, I hope you're not going to the mall today. She says, why? I said, because if they say, what size are you? You have to tell them extra fine. All right? So with that being said, be a winning league. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I was gonna have a camera. I want to selfie with the whole group. Look how camera somewhere. Talking to my wife, I think I down this morning. Can I get a selfie with the group? I'm gonna turn around. Callie, come on in with us. Give me a picture.
Oh, you want a
I want
selfie?
a selfie with the whole group, or just turn around. You
God,
take
I am
it.
not good at this.
Got it.
Oh,
Let me
boy.
get some of my LinkedIn post.
Oh my God, that's awesome. Whoever was doing the feed.
That would be on LinkedIn.
Hang on just one second, Billy. Do we have any questions? We have a couple minutes for questions. Holly will be on that side with the mic and I'll go over here. Any questions for Billy? Yes, Damon.
Good morning, everyone. Really quick question, and thank you for the performance. Appreciate it. How do you define practice and what does that mean to you?
Not doing it just one time, doing it over and over and over, and being willing to get feedback on what's effective and not. So your gimbal walk, right? What's your practice of doing it? You want to identify what's the core of what you're practicing. And then deliberate practice means also involving scientific thinking, or your PDA, but what's your routine? You have to establish that routine and then keep doing the routine because people will now start to follow and expect it. You know, the room I showed you, the practice was we have that meeting, and the reason why we put the processes in place, often I would get called away and couldn't attend the meeting. They didn't care. The meeting went on without me because of the what? Practice. That make sense?
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome. Ask me whatever you want to ask me. It doesn't have to be about the presentation.
Question? I got a microphone over here.
Be shy.
I'm loud, I could just do it.
Okay.
You know, a lot of what we look at in lean is related to manufacturing and translating manufacturing into service or into education, for example, is sometimes hard to visualize. You know, I looked at your chart and I was like, that'd be so cool to have something fun like that just in our own department, but how you translate that is challenging sometimes. Is there a tool that links things?
One is, I do a purpose map. And it helps break down where you're gonna focus. I will be here to around noon. I'll give you my card as well. The Deputy Superintendent of Topeka Independent School District in Kansas, Topeka, Kansas, was my mentor. He was the first one, like Deputy Superintendent. He used this process in his school district. And so I will give you a copy or email you a purpose map. And it breaks down what you should focus in education. So we use this process now in medical industries, small businesses. I coach a lot of entrepreneurs pro bono, and they use this template there. So it's not just manufacturing, it's business. Okay, so I'll make sure, and I'll give you my card. I'll mail you that and call me.
That's helpful, thank you.
You're welcome.
Ma'am, can I get your name? I have the exact same question.
Shelley Lowe.
Contact you.
All right, one more question and then we'll have to move on to the active learning session.
Awesome presentation. Content. What do you recommend for leaders to inspire the internal drive and motivation in others? So even though they might have individual, right, motivations, but you work together in a collective team.
Yes, one again, first of all, you got to give them a voice. You have to be seen as a leader. It's just like a parent. And normally I do an exercise where I do high fives and I miss the last person attention. The whole room says, oh, I'm like, what's the problem? And then I come back and say, give me some BT love, and then they give me a hug. Then the room erupts. The moral of that is, as a leader, start by creating this visibility, give them a voice. Now, then make them owners of that voice. You can't just talk to be talking. You need to talk about what you own. And when that, it's easy to lead. I mean, it's really easy to lead once you do that. That's what I recommend. I don't want to, if you could, somebody said that question up here, and I don't want to ignore that last question. Please.
Hi, thanks for coming. So I work for a business that's nonprofits, and most of our key performance indicators revolve around service rather than making money. So can you address really quickly what would be the best way to try and use lean in that purpose as compared to just trying to make a profit?
So one, I'm working with a Bounce Innovation Hub. It's a nonprofit. And they just built the purpose map with my whole team. And we put the tracker, and it's around those service things, community engagement, community projects. Identifying what it is that you need to focus on is first. Then you can start with the CI part. But again, the same thing, if you want the purpose map, I'll give you the purpose map and instructions, start there, and then the lean will come. Because lean is really problem solving. It's not 5S, it's not DMAIC, it's not Hoshin Connery. It's problem solving. And you just got to identify what it is you want to achieve and what's the problems or constraints preventing you from achieving that. Then it starts to click. But I have some tools I'll send you. Again, I'm on LinkedIn. I answer my own social media. Love new friends. So please reach out to me and you have any questions.
Okay, Billy's birthday is